Adidas have been releasing a lot of different running shoes recently, and two very comparable ones are the Hyperboost Run and the Hyperboost Edge. But there are a lot of questions about which one is better and which one is better value. I'm going to answer all of the key questions in this video and also recommend to you which one I think you should buy. If you're not sure, you will be by the end of this video, so watch along to find out. So first of all, let's run through the key stats and features of the shoes. The Hyperboost Edge has been out for a little while now. It has a 45mm stack at the heel and 39mm at the forefoot for a 6mm drop. It has a full light traction rubber outsole. It has a very plush and aesthetic upper and a full wedge of Hyperboost Pro foam in the midsole. On the other hand, the Hyperboost Run came out at the beginning of August and has a 38mm stack at the heel and 32 at the forefoot. Again, a 6mm drop. It actually has two additional pads of Continental rubber on the outsole rather than just light traction. The upper is still very plush and clean. It does have some additional eyelets for a runner's knot and also a slightly edited version of the heel padding. Its midsole is also completely Hyperboost Pro foam. They also weigh in at almost exactly the same weight in my UK size 9 at about 260 grams. Which makes them pretty light and pretty usable daily trainers. Now that we've got the stats out of the way, I'm going to go through key things that set them apart from each other. First of all, I'm going to talk about how comfortable are both of these shoes. If you've been looking into the Hyperboost Edge for a while, then you'll know that a lot of people complained about having rubbing from the heel padding on this shoe. This is something that actually has ruined the shoe for a lot of people, and I know that Adidas are aware of this issue. I personally didn't have any of that. I do think if people have more pronounced Achilles, then this happens to be a bit more of an issue. And it tends to be from where the padding divides at the back of the heel and also around the side here where the edges are quite hard. That is true. This upper isn't very forgiving. So if you do get rubbing, it's pretty hard to get rid of it. But for me personally, I actually found this shoe really, really comfortable. The only two issues I had with comfortability were, first of all, it was a bit fiddly to try and get a runner's knot in this. I actually had to poke my own holes through the upper to create the runner's loop. Even though there is actually a loop inside for it, it is so difficult to get in and get the lace through it that I couldn't be bothered. And it also didn't go high enough up the tongue for my liking, so I felt the need to edit the shoes myself. And also, the upper isn't very breathable. It's very plush and pretty substantial, and it just means that in hot weather, your foot does get quite warm. But overall, I found this shoe pretty comfortable once I had dialed it in for my own fit and preference. Adidas did take some of those issues into consideration when creating the Adidas Hyperboost Run, because they did slightly redesign the heel padding and the collar to make sure that it wasn't so harsh and didn't cause that rubbing, which they were successful in. This shoe, the slip-on comfort was exceptional. It has additional lace loops, which means that I was easily able to do a runner's knot. And also I had absolutely no rubbing, but I also didn't in the Hyperboost Edge. It was definitely a more comfortable shoe to put on straight away. However, it has the exact same issue with the breathability. It's not the worst thing in the world, but my foot did get quite hot. And that is just because the upper is quite substantial. It just lacks that aeration. So overall, I'd actually give the fit and comfort to the Hyperboost Run. I just found it suited me a bit better straight out the box. Next up, the big question, which one feels better to run in? Because that is essentially what you will be doing with these shoes. Starting with the Hyperboost Run this time, as I said, it was super comfortable, really easy to get on. And once I got out running, it actually just disappeared on my foot. And that is a compliment in many ways because I just forgot it was there. I plodded along. I didn't notice that it was giving me any sort of amazing energy return, but I also felt very, very stable and safe. I think the lower stack lends itself to just feeling a little bit more invisible, and I just felt like I could kind of chug away in this forever. And as a daily trainer, that is basically what it's aimed for. However, in saying that, I did just find it a little bit boring, and sometimes I like to have a bit of fun in my shoes. Sometimes, yes, I do just want to pop on a shoe and just get out there, get my run done and get home. But on those days where I actually want to go out, give it a bit of juice and just get running, this just didn't seem to have it for me, and it wasn't as fun as I was hoping. I think the fact that it has less foam in the midsole as well just means that your legs are slightly less protected as well. But overall, it was a decent shoe for that, but nothing to set the world on fire. Whereas the Hyperboost Edge was so much more fun and just better all round when it came to running. Once I had dealt with the issues of locking it down and getting a good fit, I found that this shoe did also disappear, but when I wanted it to, it could pick up the pace, it could provide me with that bit of fun, that bit of excitement that made me enjoy the run. Sometimes I didn't want that, but sometimes I did, and it's nice to have that versatility. This is just better at slightly faster paces, but also can do your long, easy miles when you just want to chill. And I think that's just down to the fact that it just has more Hyperboost Pro in the midsole. And based on that, the point for the run test goes to the Hyperboost Edge. And then finally, grip and stability. There's actually very little difference in terms of the grip and stability between these two shoes. And even though the Hyperboost Run does have the additional Continental rubber patches, I had absolutely no issues in either of them. They both provide a very wide and comfortable platform to land on. I didn't have any issues with slipping around. I think the light traction on its own is pretty much as good as this with the pods. I will caveat and say I didn't have to run in any wet weather, so maybe just on the toe off you would get slightly more traction here, but for me, in my experience, there's very little to choose from between these. And I suppose from a durability point of view, maybe you could edge it to the run, but I think that wouldn't necessarily be fair to say, so I'm going to call it a draw. And so that leads us to the ultimate question. Which one would I buy if I was going to purchase one of them right now? And for me, the answer is easy. It's the Adidas Hyperboost Edge. This shoe is just better all around. As much as I enjoyed the Hyperboost Run, it was just a bit plain, just a bit boring. And I just didn't have that much fun in this shoe. Whereas the Hyperboost Edge, I found like when I picked up the pace, I had fun. I enjoyed myself. I was smiling. The Hyperboost Run was just put your head down, get your miles done, and get home. And for me personally, I prefer a bit more fun in my life. Don't get me wrong, both of these shoes are good, but I would say that this is just your workhorse, and this is your workhorse that can let its hair down at the weekend and give you a bit of fun. It is important to take into account that there is a difference in price of £20. This is £170 and this is £150 retail. However, at the moment, you can get the Hyperboost Edge as low as £140 on sale, and you can probably pick up the Hyperboost Run about £130 now. It's an easy winner for me. Hyperboost Edge all the way. I hope you enjoyed that comparison review, and I hope that if you were thinking about buying these shoes, that is going to help make your decision much easier. If there are any other comparisons you want me to do, then please let me know down in the comments. But for now, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll keep bringing you my 100% honest reviews to make sure that you can make informed purchases in the future. See you later.